Something really interesting is happening down at Mar-a-Lago right now. 45 days away from Donald Trump officially taking over, and it has become abundantly clear that Donald Trump has already taken over. Donald Trump is already in charge. Donald Trump is political America right now, and the rest of the world is already kowtowing and adjusting to that reality. Joe Biden has become an afterthought, a footnote. Joe Biden is not in charge of anything right now, if he ever was. And the Democratic Party has fallen so far out of the mainstream in the last 30 days that Barack Obama is now a Republican.
There are going to be times, potentially, when one side tries to stack the deck and lock in a permanent grip on power, either by actively suppressing votes or politicizing the armed forces or using the judiciary, the criminal justice system to go after opponents. In those circumstances, a line has been crossed, and we have to stand firm.
Barack, your side tried to stack the deck. Your side let 15 million illegals in, hoping that they vote for Kamala, but they didn't. They voted for Donald Trump instead. In what is probably the greatest political backfire in American history, your side wants the permanent grip on power. Yes, Barack, a line was crossed, but you crossed it. Things have gotten so bad for Democrats that during local news interviews now, they're being asked if they're thinking about becoming Republicans. Take a look.
Would you ever consider rejoining the GOP?
The party that's the most important for me is the American Party. I'm a part of the American Party. I love this country. This is the home of the free, the land of the brave. My 19-year-old nephew died on the fields of Vietnam, protecting what this city and this country represents. And that's the party I'm going to always be a member of. And I did it as a police officer when I wore that bulletproof vest for 22 years. And I'm going to do it with this blue suit as the mayor of the city of New York.
Are you thinking about joining the GOP? I want to play you another soundbite. This is from 33 days ago when this man, well, this soundbite is from right now, but 33 days ago, this man was one of the biggest names in political America. Look at him right now and tell me that the Democratic Party has not completely lost it.
You were also talking a lot about Donald Trump being a threat to democracy. And, you know,
yes.
People, and was that a misguided message? Because
no, it's true, and I think just to say it, I mean, you got to accept the results of an election, and that was proven. That's not debatable. That's not a he said, she said thing. That is a clearly, he lost the election, said he won it, and kept coming at it. Look, did it matter to people as much? Apparently not.
Tim Walz, remember him? More evidence of a failing Democrat Party last night. Meet Joe Biden, Joe Ebenezer Scrooge Biden. Look at his hair. This is last night at the White House tree lighting. He is your leader right now of the Democratic Party. So what's really going on here? No one was asking Eric Adams if he was thinking about becoming a Republican the day before the election. But as America heals, common sense is suddenly back in vogue now. And as that happens, something else is happening. Donald Trump is building the first inadvertent political dynasty in American history, which is something that we've just never seen before. Political dynasties, yes, we've seen those, but they always are part of a long-running plan. The Bushes, the Kennedys, John Adams and his son John Quincy Adams, both presidents. All of those were planned, calculated, thought out in advance. I promise you that when The Apprentice debuted on NBC, Donald Trump was not thinking about Barron someday running for Congress. But when he's old enough, Barron Trump probably will, and he will likely win. In 1960, John F. Kennedy was elected president, but that election was the result of a 20-year plan by his dad, Joe Kennedy, to get one of his sons to the White House. The plan originally was to make his oldest son, Joe Jr., president, but he passed away in the Second World War.
The follow plane turned on the remote control, and the minute they did that, the plane exploded and vaporized. My uncle's body was never found. 20 years later, my grandfather, if you mentioned his name, Joe's name, he was the oldest brother, and he was kind of the golden child. My grandfather would break into tears, and he never got over it.
After that, it was all on JFK, who they called Jack, and his father did everything in his power to make sure Jack ended up in the White House. When he wrote this book, Profiles in Courage, and there are questions about that, Joe actually bought all the copies to make it a New York Times bestseller. When JFK first ran for Congress, his dad made sure another candidate with the exact same name as the guy running against JFK was also on the ballot, meaning there were two Joe Russos on the ballot. That split the vote. JFK won in 1946. Pretty clever. The old man did everything he could for decades to make sure JFK made it to the White House, and he did. He beat Richard Nixon in 1960 in an election that may very well have been stolen, by the way. Take a listen.
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century, tempered by war, disciplined by a hard and bitter peace.
So that was the plan all along. There was a blueprint, a roadmap, and after Kennedy got to the White House, the plan was clear. So Jack would serve for 8 years. He'd run again in 1964 and win. Bobby would be president after that. And then in 1976, Teddy would run. The Emerald Kings right there. The tan Irish Catholic president with his beautiful family. That was the plan. But then everything changed on a November day in Dallas.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You'll excuse the fact that I'm out of breath, but about 10 or 15 minutes ago, a tragic thing, from all indications at this point, has happened in the city of Dallas. Let me quote to you this. And you'll excuse me if I am out of breath. A bulletin. This is from the United Press from Dallas. President Kennedy and Governor John Connally have been cut down by assassins' bullets in downtown Dallas.
Yeah, so Dallas changed everything. American history. Bobby was killed in 1968. Chappaquiddick happened not long after that. Ted Kennedy did run for president in 1980, but he was doomed from the start. Just like RFK Jr. this year in 2024, Kennedy's always seemed to run for president when a Democrat is already in the White House. Jimmy Carter in 1980, Joe Biden in 2024. Take a look.
For me, a few hours ago, this campaign came to an end. For all those whose cares have been our concern, the work goes on, the cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream shall never die.
So the dynasty ended right there. Sure, Kennedys have been ambassadors and congressmen since, but the dynasty ended then. And once Joe Kennedy leaves office, the ambassador to Ireland right now in 45 days, for the first time since 1946, a Kennedy will not be working in the Democratic Party in Washington. And what's happening right now with Donald Trump is something that no one planned for. There was no blueprint. And after Trump, Trumpism will live on for a long time. And with Marco Rubio serving as Secretary of State, that means we've got an open Senate seat in Florida. Look who moved to Florida, Laura Trump. She lives there now. I could imagine a Senator Trump in the not-so-distant future. I can imagine a world where maybe in 2032 or 2036, Donald Trump Jr. is running for president. I've asked him about that before. I can envision a world where Barron is governor of Florida by that time. I can also imagine a world in the not-so-distant future where J.D. Vance is president and Ivanka is his running mate and Eric Trump is an ambassador. This is not a fairy tale. This is a reality right now. What Donald Trump has started will not stop with him in 4 years. He right now is presiding over the first inadvertent political dynasty in American history. None of this was planned, and I think that probably scares a lot of Democrats more than anything else right now.
Information. Truth is freedom. Is Newsmax. It's real news for real people.